They are seeing the opportunities, especially the PM. They see what's happening before everyone. It's really rare to hear investors saying, I just want to buy one or two. It's never the conversation. There's a lot of the time where the events that investor is going through could help property manager to serve them better and the broker at the same time. But often they don't talk to each other. We know the maintenance costs. We know how much it costs to hold a property. So we can make sure when we set up our clients that they have buffers so they are more stable investors for the property manager. There's a lot of things a broker do that needs the intel of a property manager.
You're listening to the Property Management Excellence Podcast for insights that drive rapid rental growth.
Welcome back. Great to have you with us. Alex Whitlock with you, co-founder of Managed, also director of REB. I'm going to take a slightly different angle with today's podcast. So I was thinking in between broadcasts about the most important professionals in my life as an investor. And, I'm very clear on the value that property managers bring to me. They're critical in terms of management of my investment, but there is another professional that complements, I guess, the PM, but in a completely different area. But it occurs to me that oftentimes they may be separate. So who is it I'm talking about? I'm talking about my mortgage broker. Why is my mortgage broker important? Well, my mortgage broker, for me personally, is a perpetual partner because I have a portfolio of properties. So obviously on the journey of purchasing, before the property goes with the PM in that particular area, the journey starts with me with my mortgage broker. They're critical to help me shape my purchasing decisions. They give me feedback on all aspects of the investment. They consider very clearly what the yield is going to be before we even get into taking on the loan. And then guess what? The relationship with the broker finishes and the relationship with the PM begins. So I thought it would be valuable to invite on the principal of Finni Mortgages, Eva Loisance.
Hello. How are you?
Hey Eva, how you going?
Good.
The reason I want to bring Eva onto the podcast is, look, for a couple of reasons. One of them, I will cut to the chase. Eva is working with property managers and has been for some time. But before I kind of get into that, I want to really sort of just chat to you. You've been very much part of my investment journey for a long, long time. It's getting tougher looking after the investor. It's a tough game. And what I really want to dig into, Eva, is looking at, I guess, understanding the owner, the investor, some of the challenges they have. This is going to translate to property managers because, you are dedicated, you're an investment specialist, your broking businesses only deals with investors, but it's getting pretty tough at the moment for owners.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of things a broker do that needs the intel, I guess, of a property manager. So we do work with them a lot. And I think we tried in the last few years to really dig into how much we can serve each other to better outcome the client. Because they're on the ground. They know the property, they know the market, they know everything. So, there's lots there.
I think oftentimes it's interesting because you will have a real estate agency that has a sales and a property management side of the business. But here's the thing, with the property management side of the business, it's an investor. It's specifically investors and owners, whereas with the sales side, there'll be, sort of owner archetype.
Yeah. I guess it's only investors that would use property manager, for sure. Yeah. But I guess the relationships can start a long time before it settles or you sell a property, They give us a lot of intel about property market, about property, about what the rents are doing, about who is selling, and the maintenance of a property, the status of a property. So there's a lot there that can be done that's just not for the investor as well.
I know you work with a number of agencies. It's funny, in 30 years buying property, I've never once had any property manager come to me and say, hey, look, we've got a relationship with a mortgage broker. Would you like to have a review of your situation, of your portfolio? Are you thinking about adding to your... Never once. No, I think that's quite interesting. It's
not common, and it's a shame because we do have the same type of events that would trigger, I guess, a review for the client. So, when you have a lease renewal, well, that could be also the time you review your portfolio and see if you should sell or increase the rent, or if you've got an equity release that's pending and could go ahead, or if you sell the property. Or there's a lot of the time where the events that an investor is going through could help a property manager to serve them better and the broker at the same time. But often they don't talk to each other.
Yeah, and again, I'm my angle with this podcast is very much as an investor, and I want to give insight to property managers, really about sort of real deep insight into the mindset of the owner, and I can tell you that owners, particularly who have more than one property, there's usually 3 professionals that are really, really integral and perpetual. So one is the PM. The other one is the mortgage broker. The third one is the accountant. So these, for me as an owner, these 3 professionals are critical. I buy a property from a sales agent. That's a very transactional relationship, and then they're gone. I may use a buyer's agent, but I don't anymore. As I've said many times in this podcast, I buy specifically using my property manager, who is outstanding. So you get this kind of little ecosystem of strength as an owner. And the reason I'm talking about this, I think there's opportunity for PMs to look at building their own ecosystem around this with a strong relationship with a broker, strong relationship with accountants to feed back into the owner. But tell me a little bit about how you have found PMs to work with.
I guess it started like for a lot of brokers with, we need a rental appraisal. Yeah. Can you please help us with that? Right. It starts like this. And then obviously we've had investors in our book for a long time. So we do talk to the same rental managers ongoing. So it goes from, we need a rental appraisal to the lease is due to be renewed. The actual client doesn't know, the investor doesn't know if we should sell or if we should renew. Do they have a capacity to do more? It does help as well with cash flow, where property managers can help us understand the maintenance need of a property. And it does, and they see that coming, I guess, a long time before the issue is there. It's like, well, there's this going wrong, this going wrong, this going wrong. There's like thousands coming up, where sometimes investors don't have the cash flow for it. So they can tell us long in advance, well, these clients might need an equity release at this time. And I know the market, so I know the property has increased in value. It might be a time for them to get 20 grand out and fix the property. Or maybe it's a good time to sell. So as we, I guess, build on a relationship that, taking years, we discovered that there's a lot of the time where they can feed us intel and we can feed them intel as well about what the investor's doing. And they might be able to find them another property or rent to a better tenant. There's a lot there that can happen.
It's really interesting. Well,
it starts with rental appraisal often.
It does. And it's so funny because because I refinance fairly regularly, as you all know. It's fortunately, so it's probably a good point to give a little bit of visibility about what sets your business aside from Common and Garden mortgage brokers. Just give us a bit of a background to exactly who you specialize in and why you specialize in that area.
So we specialize in investors, complex investment portfolios, people really trying to grow and build wealth through their life. So it starts, with someone having 1 or 2 property to real big portfolio. So obviously, if we have to manage 10, 20 properties, there's a lot there. Every time we apply for finance, we need a rental statement. We need so many things that property managers can help us with. We do also property portfolio reviews. So often we actually need the help of a PM to do that. Yeah. It's like how much the property has grown. What do you see is happening in that market right now? Can we get the property list at a higher rate right away, or should we sell this one to buy something else? And they can tell us so much more. It's like a real data. We don't have to wait for reports that tell you the quarterly changes. They know right then what's happening. So it's super valuable.
It's really interesting because a proactive mortgage broker such as yourselves will go to the customer because they've got multiple, whether they've got one or multiple properties, and say, hey, look, you may have some equity. It's worth reviewing your portfolio, so on and so forth, because you do deal with investors. But for PMs, whether you've got one on your books, or maybe we know there's a lot of property managers that have 2, 3, 4, 5, hey, some with 15, 20, 30 properties. Okay. So this gets very, very interesting, because, we all know that the Australian property market doesn't go up in nice, smooth, and it doesn't go up in sync. You can end up, if you say, oh, look, if you'd had, if you were in Perth over the last 6, 7 years, and you've got somebody with multiple properties on your rent roll, hey, there's going to be some people who've had some huge equity growth. So the connectivity for the property manager with a finance professional to go back to the investor, to have a synchronized conversation about growing wealth, huge opportunity. You look at, I've got my fingers crossed and very much believe that the Melbourne market is going to move. But again, and I've got 4 properties with 5 properties with one group. I've got 3 with another down there.
That's what's really interesting, actually. If you look at the data, it's showing Sydney and Melbourne are slowly going down. When you talk to people on the ground, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, because we look in the rearview mirror, right?
Yeah, so that's and that's data that no one can find, looking for it. So you need to have those relationships, otherwise you don't know.
But here's the thing, though. We talk about, we have this really weird way of going, Sydney is going down, Melbourne's going down. You look at some suburbs in Melbourne, and it's tight. You can't. That's right. There's very, very hot competition. But you end up with this data, rearview mirror, because it's always, a quarter out of date, and it's from
very
Melbourne.
Generic as well. It's large. There's markets within markets.
So this is markets within markets. And this is why, PMs in a particular area with a particular knowledge about a particular suburb, or maybe they've got a spread that goes a little bit wider, in sync with a broker, there's great, sort of great opportunity.
Yeah, and it's enormous. Like I remember a client buying a property in the Melton region. So it's Western Melbourne, and they could tell us by literally the street, you should actually go just 2 streets over there, or actually look at this property because it's quite noisy, or it's closer to the station. Things you wouldn't really know just looking at a map or listening to a buyer's agent that just goes there, once a month or something. So they can tell us a lot about, that's housing commission situation, that's that. Like the data is invaluable.
Data is really critical, and also local market knowledge. And again, look, I've personally chosen to stop using a buyer's agent. I've got nothing against buyer's agents, but as I say now, because I know where I want to buy, my PM helps me choose the property, and they're not. Sometimes I will get them from their rent roll if there's something that's coming
especially if it's from the rent roll. They have also knowledge of the issue that might have.
But they know the local market. So the PM will look at what's for sale. They'll go, okay. They know what performs well on their rent roll, and they will look in the local market. They go, look, there are these 3 properties here that really fit the bill. And I know, look, for me personally, at the moment, I'm buying apartments, so I'm not looking at all and sundry. But they'll go, I know the building. This one rents well, no cladding issues, low strata, so on and so forth. And then they can give me an indication of what a good price to buy would be, right? So there's a big thing here. Look, I'm going to take a quick break, Eva. When we come back, I'd like to look at sort of the actual commercial relationship that you have with some of the agencies, because at the end of the day, I want to look at how the right way for PMs to build a relationship with the broker, what they should look for in their broker, what value a broker can add to the PM, and then, and how a commercial relationship would look moving forward. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a couple of seconds. Welcome back. Great to have you with us again. Eva, Alex with you, PMX, exploring the relationship, I guess, from my perspective as an investor between, certainly the owner and the broker, and of course the owner and the PM. But we're really looking a bit beyond that into how a good broker, an investment-focused broker, can add value to a PM, and I guess vice versa. As I said before the break, I see, having bought over many, many years, there are 3 really enduring relationships that I have. That's the property manager, absolutely a good broker, and the accountant. And I think that there is possibly a opportunity sometimes. We see accountants and brokers work really closely together. We don't always see these three being brought in. But look, again, coming back to you, Eva, how can a good investment-focused broker add value to a PM? They don't have to be local, right? Because you work with PMs across the country.
Yes, I think we have to remember that the PM obviously works with the investor and with the tenants, right?
Of course.
So they want both to be happy, right? That's at the end of the day, that's the main.
We want everyone to be happy.
That's the main outcome. So a lot of it comes from, for the tenants, that to have a property that's well maintained, that they can live in nicely, and that has the repair happening when it needs to be. So I think from our point of view, dealing with investors, we know the cash flow restraints, we know the maintenance costs, we know how much it costs to hold a property. So we can make sure when we set up our clients that they have buffers, so they are more stable investors for the property manager and also obviously for the tenants. That's one thing that our PM are telling us, is at least I don't have issue with those investors. They're always ready to maintain the property. It's all going well. Based on that, it also retains the tenants. They're not going anywhere. They're happy. For the property managers, that would also retain the investor, so they're keeping them on their rent roll. So it's all a partnership for long-term retention.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to be a lot happier in that relationship. I think it's also, for the PM that I talked to, they're saying they feel a lot more credible in their role because everybody is looking at them as a solution partner. They're
the long-term custodian.
Yeah,
because
right.
they manage the property every day.
So they gain credibility from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main. I think to me that's the main thing, is they really become the main thing there.
I think in your investment journey, having a team around you. I'm talking as an investor. So as I say, when I know that I have, and I rely very heavily on a team, the property manager, central. Once you've purchased, they are the professional.
Yep.
That is the custodian.
You can also introduce them at the time someone buys something.
Well, this is
and
it.
they're ready to go at the time it settles.
One of the things I was going to say,
a lot quicker.
And again, no broker should be recommending where to buy. That's not what a broker does. A broker is there to make sure that you are financed appropriately and effectively. And that can really, when you start to get into complex trust structures and big investors, and everyone wants a big, the broker wants to have a relationship if they got the capacity to deal with big investors. Property managers definitely want those large portfolio type investors because it's very stable on their rent roll. But here's the thing, a mortgage broker shouldn't and doesn't recommend where to buy. But if you have a strong relationship with a property manager, you can be in a position where you can refer. Say, look, I don't do recommendations, but I've got a property manager that you can talk to who can give you a better insight into that particular area.
Yeah, that's right. There are big groups that can...
Because buyer's agents are all over brokers, same as they're all over, the property managers. And I've got nothing against buyer's agents, but I think there are professionals that have a much longer term view, my broker and my PM and my accountant. And I think there's ways that these professionals can work effectively if you've got the best interest of the owner at heart, which you guys have, I know you have, and so does a PM. Yeah. But I think there's an opportunity where with a network of for a broker with a network of different property management professionals in different areas where you've helped the investor secure finance, that there is a referral relationship there where
there is. We do have a few partnership and referral agreement going on with PM, and that's definitely valuable for them, for us, and for the investors, and down the line for the tenants as well. So that works. Just like a rent roll, they're just building a trail roll with us. So it's that's a good point. So as you're well aware, I mean, growing a rent roll is straightforward. When you retain properties and when you add properties, whether through acquisition or through organic growth, you grow your rent roll. The rent roll is worth a multiple of the income that you achieve on your rent roll. Now, property managers may not be familiar with how you build value. So,
Do you want to just talk a little bit about, because there's always this parallel for me of a rent roll and of a loan book.
Yep, there is. And look, a lot of rental or property managers offices actually do wish to have a broker in-house, right?
Yeah.
But it comes with a lot of compliance and licensing and all that, so it gets quite tricky. The way it works for lending is.
I'm just going to mention something because I know you did a survey, or we did a survey on REB, and this is kind of quite important because we surveyed agents to look at sort of the in-house broker, and a lot of them don't use it. The in-house broker, if we
they refer outside.
Yeah. So, and I think the problem is if you have an in-house, again, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, if you have an in-house broker, they're usually a jack of all trades because they're dealing with. Yeah. You don't have one for sales and one for PM, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, and also I know a lot from my clients, they don't like to deal with one. I guess. So
one-stop shop. There's a bit of a conflict of interest. If I'm buying, and I'm dealing with a sales agent, and they've got the broker, I mean, we're moving.
But it does happen, sometimes they go with the legal person that's there, the accountant, everything, and everything is done under one house. Some people do that, but a lot of, I guess, more sophisticated investors would absolutely go no. They'd go and pick and choose who's best for what. So, that's interesting that they don't always use the.
Yeah,
but it's good.
It is good. Look, I think I think almost every real estate agent has some sort of referral relationship with a broker. Some of them on the PM side, but like I say at the beginning, in 30 years, I've never had a PM come to me and say, I've had properties with some PMs for 5-6 years. They've never come and said, hey, do you want to do a review of your property? Hey, I think your property may have gone up in value. Hey, interest rates have gone up. Maybe a broker can help you see if you can get a lower rate.
So that's how it started. So our PM would know, okay, well, this property I know has increased in value, I don't know, 20% in the last few years. You may have some equity. I know some brokers that could look at that. Or you've had a rent rise. You said you were a bit stuck with cash flow to do the repair of whatever. What about you talk to mortgage brokers? So they know how to start the conversation and to push the referrals. Most of them don't have an in-house broker or a broker that knows about investing and the whole complexity that it can entail. So that's how we started, I guess, a relationship with that. So the way that it works is when a loan settles, we get an upfront commission and we get a trail commission for as long as the loan does exist. This is the part where we share with the PM.
So this is your loan book, and it's similar to, your loan book is similar to a rent roll.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a trailing commission, and then you get paid that on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So and then that has a value, right? As you build your loan book.
That's right.
So you work with some agents, and you give them an opportunity to, in parallel, share, I guess.
Yeah.
The
So
loan book?
it works like as a referral. If they have a client that would like to use us as their broker, anything that comes from that and settles and we get paid a trail commission, we would share that with the PM. So it really is like a simple name and number referral agreement, and that we look after the clients. They get paid a referral fee for that.
Margins are thin in property management often, but hey, look, I've had the pleasure of interviewing some of the most successful property managers, and they just do property management. They don't rely on sales commission. So if you get property management right, I say the margins are thin. If you get it right, it is a very substantial and lucrative way to build wealth.
Yeah.
For the principal who owns.
This just adds to it.
But if you can add in supplementary,
it's very easy.
It's very tangible as well.
Yes, and I think it doesn't take much for PM. They talk to their investors all the time, right?
They should do, but they don't.
They don't.
The best ones do.
Well, at least every time the lease is being renewed, they should at least pick up the phone and say.
Look, it's really funny.
It would be easy for them to at least say something like that.
So the interesting thing is, some good PMs I talk to on the phone, and the PMs that I only work with good PMs, and they're proactive because I have a relationship with them where they're very dialed into my portfolio, and so they are feeding into it and helping me understand and often helping me grow. But a lot of property managers, the relationship can very often be maintenance requests,
Yep.
which comes via email or maybe SMS. You
Yes,
know, they
that's
don't
true.
often get on the phone. There will occasionally be
A
a
property
rental
report,
review. You know,
yeah,
occasionally there'll be an annual rental review. I think there is an opportunity for PMs. What I see is, you know, next generation PMs, which mine are, to have a very organic relationship with their owners. And as part of that organic, if you're looking to add value to your owners, then talking about and hey, PMs don't have to be a mortgage broker, but to actually have the confidence to have a conversation about saying, look, I know my marketplace, your rent's just gone up, you know,
Yeah.
X percent
You've got
over the last 3
equity there,
years. Your
and that's
equity is, look, I don't know. It looks like, you know, looking at the data, it looks like you may have gone up 20%. Look, it's worth. Have you had a conversation with the broker? No one's ever had that conversation with me.
Yeah, that's right. It would be so easy. And
Very
it is
easy. But you need the right broker.
You need the right broker. We can help there.
So just to round this off, the simple thing is working, if you find the right broker, an investment-focused broker that understands investors, first and foremost.
Yep.
And apart from adding, look, the bottom line is about giving quality outcomes to your customers, but there is scope through delivering quality to your owners, to your investors, that through just simply working with a good referral partner without actually having to do anything, but referring business, that you can build, I guess, what you might call a shadow loan book.
Shadow loan book, yeah, that's right.
It's important to consider, you know, I think you've got to put value at the heart of everything. I know that brokers are very careful about who they partner with, same as accountants, you know, same as PMs, because all of those three they have real integrity about the relationship with their customer. But there are areas and opportunities with another trusted partner, which brokers are, to add value to the customer.
Yeah, look, I think when it works well, like it has for Finni, it just creates value everywhere for us, for the PM, for the investors, and then the tenants. So it's almost too easy not to give it a try. Like, it's not much the PM has to do, and the one we work with are, you know, very surprised. It's like, okay, well, it just took a phone call, it just took a name and number, and then this client is now on the second property or moving forward. So it's very underutilized, this relationship.
A topic not for today and not for this podcast, really for our kind of, you know, for smart property investment, but so many owners sit on property because they don't know, because I've said it many times, it takes a long time for owners to become really astute investors, and some will stay with one or two properties, maybe some get a few more, but there's even some who have 2-3 properties, but they still don't really understand the opportunity. This is what I really want to emphasize is a really high caliber property manager, a really high caliber accountant, and a really high caliber mortgage broker, for me as the customer, can help me can advance. Not, you know, sort of lots of hot air from buyers agents about exploding wealth and buying here and buying there. But these three, this really strong triangle of advisor, of partner, you can be sitting on as an owner, you can be sitting on equity that the PM can maybe identify, and you work with your accountant and with a broker, and you can start to unlock that equity. With every investment, there is inherent risk. But you know what? If you've got trusted advisors around, you can start helping owners and investors see what there is. Brokers, I've worked with brokers for 30 years. They are conservative. You know, good brokers are not risk takers with their customers. You also then obviously end up with a bank that evaluates the opportunity. You've got a lot of breaks and checks and balances in. But I think if you work closely with these three, your accountant, your property manager, and your broker, as an owner, there's a missed opportunity in many cases.
Yeah, totally. I think that it's because those three professionals are on the ground and they know what's happening. So they are seeing the opportunities, especially the PM. They see what's happening before everyone, before it's in the report, before, yeah. And I must say, in the last few months or last year, they have been the one that are giving me the most, I guess, important intel that I've had in property investing.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah. So do you. You bought in Melbourne in some markets, some type of assets because of that intel, right?
I have, yeah.
So
I'm going to keep buying in Melbourne, and you guys, helped me with I bought for the first time my SMSF. Well, you know what, and here's the, with you guys, it's a different type of purchase, but guess what? It goes with the property manager.
It does.
Doesn't make any difference to them whether it's an SMSF or whether it's in my straightforward portfolio.
Yeah.
And that was some going as well, to get that, and full credit to it wasn't yourself, it was one of your colleagues who settled that loan for me. But that was a process for me to go through. But hey, I've got a great 3-bedroom apartment in St Kilda, managed by Marshall White, so I'm very happy with that. Before we round off, look, what are you seeing in the investor market at the moment? Are you seeing things slow down because of impending rate rises, or just give us a bit of an overview of what you're seeing?
We're seeing a lot of markets within markets, whether it's different cities, different type of assets, different price range between investment and owner. So there's a lot of segmentation with regions as well. We're seeing people going more and investing more into Sydney and Melbourne's region. So we're seeing a lot. But I guess the main thing we are, looking at is premium properties have definitely slowed down.
Yeah.
And what's happening is people are buying, and when I say people, it's investors or first-home buyers or owner-occupier in the more affordable markets. And that's where it's picking up
heat in those
everywhere.
Markets. Absolutely, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's in Perth or Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne, it's where the markets are
People
going.
are still buying in Perth, aren't they?
Yeah, and then the last auction clearance this week was actually quite low.
Yeah.
On the 60%, and it's been the first time in quite some time, I think 2022. However, we've seen the unit markets still over 70%.
Yeah, okay.
So it's where it's happening as well in that space.
It's so interesting.
Affordability, I guess, drives a lot of it.
Yeah. And just on one sort of final thing, what type of investor are you seeing in the market? Are you seeing first-time investors? Is it more people sort of drawing on a little bit of equity? What type of activity are you seeing?
I think the first-time investors are a little bit cautious right now, and a bit like first-home buyers or an occupier. They're like, okay, we're just going to sit there on the sideline and see how this plays, right? So a lot of the one we are dealing with are 2 to 3 properties. They know how it works now. They know they've got equity in previous properties, and they see the current market as an opportunity. And I think they're right.
Without sounding cliche, there's always opportunity.
There's always opportunity, but there are bargains right now happening.
But you sometimes got to kind of look, I guess, as an investor, if you're starting out, the chances are you don't have a lot of funds to play with. You've got whatever you've saved. Guess what? You buy your first property, then you've got to wait.
Yes.
You've either got to save more money or you've got to wait for some sort of movement in your property. When you have a portfolio, it's always going to be a bit checkered, but there's always something. Once you end up with a bit of a spread, particularly if you've got them in different locations and different types of assets,
there would be one
something
that can
moves.
Yeah. We've seen lenders as well opening up lending to 95% for investors.
Yeah,
which says a lot about how they see the market going, I think, if you read between the lines.
Here's the thing as well for you, for PMs, I think, look, again, I'm absolutely evangelical about the role that the PMs retain the relationship. But if you work with a broker, and if you have this information, and if you have the confidence to have the right conversations with your owners, because we all want to move forward, in our investment journey. Most of us do. Maybe you've got some people who've got one property and they're happy with that, but it doesn't hurt to have the conversation with an owner to say, look, things have changed. Hey.
It's really rare to hear investors saying, I just want to buy 1 or 2. It's never the conversation, right? People want to keep going until they hit their goal, which often is, I don't want to work anymore, I want to retire early. There's always an outcome.
I don't want to work anymore. I want to retire early. Why am I still working?
Yeah. So, look, there's a lot happening. There's markets within markets everywhere.
We're not. And
it's always been like that.
Yeah. There's property. I don't like stocks and shares with what's happening globally right now. Only goes to reinforce. I think that everyone, Australia particularly, got this deep relationship with property. So, Eva, thank you for taking time to catch up. Really appreciate it. A little bit left of field, that podcast. Look, I hope that you found value in that. wanted to try and give you a little bit of a slightly different flavour for this episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're getting great feedback as well, and we're seeing listens increase. So we really appreciate that. We'll catch up with you next time.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.